But yeah, so Siler, just as we started off our conversation, and as we said a few minutes ago, it's really good to finally meet you face to face and get a proper conversation like this. Tell our listeners and our readers, who are maybe going to be watching this later, a little bit about yourself. So, where are you based? What's your background? How did you find yourself on Substack at this point today?
Yeah, of course. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to having this conversation with you. Yeah, as you already mentioned, I'm the creator of Newsletter Circle, which is a newsletter for newsletter operators who are building paid newsletters. It took some time for me to clarify this niche, and I'd like to mention about it a bit later on. But before, yeah, maybe a quick background. I'm coming from a totally different background. I worked in a global company in different roles in marketing, market research, and portfolio strategy for 10 years.
Mm,
And then I quit because I was not happy. I was not satisfied. I had some problems with finding some meaning in what I've been doing. And also, I was feeling like I was not learning anything new and not challenge myself. Also, I wanted to build a business that I can fully own.
mm,
But in the beginning, it was not clear for me. I didn't quit with the intention to start a newsletter. It took some time for me to decide on this path. So I did some research. I started to read lots of resources about building an online business, explore different formats. But I always knew that I wanted to do something related to content creation.
mm,
And then during this time that I gave myself to research what's going on in the online world, yeah, I discovered so many great newsletters actually, and I started to follow them. And then also realized that there are so many successful creators out there who are doing great job building recurring revenue streams with their newsletters, build audience, etc. Then I started my newsletter, but it was a different one. In the beginning, I was just writing what I've been learning about online business.
mm,
They were like entry level articles about building an online business, so it was widely broad. And then for one issue, I write about how to start a newsletter.
mm,
And then while writing this issue, again, I came to the realization of, okay, there are so many great newsletters, but there are not so many resources talking about how they did this.
mm,
But of course, I didn't have any audience, I didn't have any network, and I had very limited know-how about building newsletters. So I started doing interviews with
mm,
creators to learn how they did this, also to build my own relationships and networks within the newsletter space.
mm,
So actually, it's a great demonstration of you can start a newsletter about any topic, even if you don't know a lot about it. It gives you the opportunity to learn more
mm,
about. And also, interviews are great ways to build this presence
mm,
in a space that you have not been present before. Yeah, and then I started to reach out creators and started to publish written interviews about how they built their publications from scratch. It's
yep,
been more than 2 years since I started. I started on Substack because back then Substack, changed the newsletter ecosystem. It was huge, but they didn't have all these notes, live chat features.
mm,
So it was just, publishing newsletters, recommendation features, of course, was there. But then, yeah, that's all. And after 4 or 5 months, I switched to Beehive actually,
mm,
because in the meantime, Beehive became more popular, and I thought that maybe all these features related to segmentation, etc., would help me to learn more about running a newsletter.
mm.
And then in the beginning of this year, I switched back to Substack again. Well, actually, it was not a good decision for me when I reflect back now, because just after I switched from Substack to Beehive, Substack launched Notes. So I missed these early days and early traction, unfortunately.
Mm,
But then, yeah, in the meantime, they improved a lot about their features to build a community, and they made it way easier to collaborate with other creators
mm,
and your subscribers. Yeah, and then I realized that I didn't have such detailed segmentation features, etc. What I need is to create more relationships, collaborate with other creators, and get in touch with my subscribers. So I switched back to Substack. And when I switched back to Substack, it was actually the timing was intentional, because I launched a report where I analyzed over 75,000 Substack newsletters. So
mm,
I had a big news. So I had a chance to collaborate and meet many creators. And then also, with this read switching to Substack, I niche down a bit further, because in the beginning I was just talking to newsletter creators with different list size, with different monetization models. But since January, I'm only focusing on building paid newsletters. I
mm,
interview only Substack bestsellers. So this is my current niche. And there are some changes that I plan to apply as of next week,
mm.
actually. Yeah, I will also pivot my content a bit. I will decrease the number of interviews and will share more actionable content.
Mm,
I will talk more about the experiments I run, because within this time frame of 2.5 years, I also accumulated a certain level of know-how about
mhm.
building newsletters. So now I have a lot to share. I believe that I can provide more value with all these actionable articles, but I will also continue researching and studying bestsellers and other creators, because I believe I'm a huge believer of creating unique content and original content.
Mm.
Today you can ask anything to ChatGPT in the end, but the more you make your content unique, the more valuable you are,
Mm.
and your newsletter is. So I will definitely make sure to include some unique insights from other creators and continue researching. Sorry, it
Yeah.
was a long answer, I guess, but
No, it was a great answer. It was so good. You covered so much, sir. It was brilliant. And yeah, I think Siler, what you're doing is such a good approach because I think that style of experimentation and research and just providing that data for people is so valuable now. As you say, ChatGPT and AI can just spit out anything, and it's all very generic and very samey. And if you can provide real concrete data that people can drill down into and learn from, it's so valuable. And going forward, especially. And actually, your sort of story of how you got to where you are in Substack and why you started your publication is quite similar to mine in a sense because I didn't start mine with the intention of telling people how to write for a living and that sort of thing. I started it as an experimentation process so I could figure out how to write for a living and make money from what I did. And I was just sharing what I learned along the way and then sharing my experiment results and things like that. So and I kind of grew from there. So it's kind of similar in some ways
yeah.
to what you've done. And I mean, I just want to zero in on what you said about the report that you did on all the Substack bestsellers, things like that. Is it 75,000 publications you said?
Yeah,
Was it?
75,000 Substack newsletters.
Wow. How did you do that? So can you just very quickly and even in rough terms explain how you managed to analyze so many publications and then how did you sort of organize your data then?
Yeah, sure. I just had this opinion to create something really unique and enrich with data, and I knew that it's possible to scrape, use data scraping methods to get the
Mm,
information of all these Substack newsletters. But I'm not a technical expert on this. So I found someone on Upwork and I worked with him. He extracted and gathered all these key information related to 75,000 newsletters. And then, of course, it was a huge raw data. And then I worked with a data analyst just to create some meaningful tables based
mm,
on scenarios that I provide her. And from there, using all these tables and information, I created a comprehensive report showing the landscape, Substack landscape. It's the report is like taking a picture of Substack landscape. There are some key informations, how many newsletters are active and publishing regularly, what is the percentage of paid newsletters, what is the usage of recommendation, etc., the
Mm,
list sizes, and publishing frequencies, like how many weekly newsletters are there, monthly, bi-weekly, etc. So this kind of stuff.
mm,
I think it has never been done before. I know that, for example, Beehive published a report with some of these data, but for Substack, I never seen something
mm,
like that. So it was also kind of an inspiration for me. Because after seeing all this data and also switching back to Substack, I also realized there are so many successful paid newsletters out there.
mm,
And also Substack launched this bestseller badge, so that uh, they made easier to find all these paid newsletters who passed 100 paid subscribers or 1,000 paid subscribers, so it
mm,
became more visible. And then, yeah, one of the reasons why I came back to Substack was also to launch my paid offers.
mm,
Yeah, so this report actually helped me a lot to make a strong comeback to Substack.
mm,
I wrote many guest posts, and also I gathered almost 700 emails. Actually, I collected like over 1,000 emails, but
mm,
I left optional to subscribe to newsletter. I
mm.
put a box, yes, I confirm to receive newsletter issues. So yeah, in the end, I managed to gain 700 new subscribers thanks to this report. So it was a successful lead magnet. I can
Yeah.
I can say that.
Yeah, I'm just going to ask, what did you use it as a lead magnet? So then, yeah, that's because it's such a high value resource for people as well. So it'd be a shame to not use it as a lead magnet. So obviously you did, and that's brilliant. Um,
But maybe I can add something
yeah, go ahead.
as a learning. Of course, this was a difficult project. It
Mm,
took almost 2 months from the very beginning to the publishing date.
yeah,
And also, I gained a lot. I learned a lot throughout the process. I also wrote a detailed article for Inbox Collective
mm,
about what worked, what didn't. Maybe we can also share the link.
yeah,
Um, but just to give the listeners an idea, yeah, the report was really unique and includes some great insights, etc. But if I do it today, probably I would add more actionable insights,
mm,
because you shouldn't leave people with this feeling of, okay, what is next or what now? I,
hmm
I I know this information, but what should I do with it?
yeah,
I think one of my biggest learning is this, because my audience is newsletter creators in the end, and they'd like to improve their newsletters, and I need to show them how to use this data. This is also why this is why I decided to focus more on actionable insights, actually.
mm,
And the second thing, it was a really heavy report, it was difficult to digest. I think it would make more sense to create mini reports, like
mm,
dividing into sections and maybe plan a series of different launches, consecutive launches.
mm,
It would also increase the impact. It will help, this, how to say, it will make the noise bigger for a longer period of time.
yeah.
And also it will make easier for people to digest all the insights. These are
Mm.
my two biggest learnings.
Okay, brilliant. Is that something you're going to do? Are you going to make that series of smaller articles based on the report, or what do you think?
From now on, whatever I do, I'm really giving so much importance to creating something actionable, as I
Actionable.
said. Yeah, I extracted. It's been almost 1 year since I gathered this data, so yeah, I can update it. But probably I would approach with taking all these learning into consideration.
Mm,
It's not my priority for the moment, but in the meantime, for example, last week I published a report where I gathered insights from 32 bestsellers about the most impactful strategy that they use to become a bestseller, to reach
Hmm.
their first 100 paid subscribers. I reach out them and ask this question and then gather the insights and created a mini report, if we call it like that. So yes, I will create this kind of different reports, but with more actionable insights.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, that's so much amazing data for you to draw from as well, because you're not just kind of picking ideas out of the ether and just kind of maybe using AI to kind of to direct you, but you're taking the data that you find yourself and you're basing it on real concrete stuff. So
Yeah.
anything you do create in future in terms of actionable directions for people is going to be really, really grounded in reality and in actual numbers, which is fantastic.
Mm.
Siler, what is like a real insight that you've learned? So if you could share like one growth insight from what you see in the report that really helps drive growth for people who are just starting out on Substack. So someone joins Substack and they want to maybe try and make their way up to like maybe 1,000 free subscribers. What's a real core thing or a series of things maybe that somebody could do to kind of get them started on that pathway to 1,000 subscribers on the platform?
Yeah, I think one of the most, how to say, powerful insights from the report is that there are so many inactive newsletters. So, you know that Substack makes so easy to start a newsletter, but the real job starts after you create this profile and account, right? You need to be really consistent.
Mm,
Yeah, this consistency thing kind of turned into a buzzword, and it might sound cliche, but it really stays at the core of building a successful newsletter.
mm.
And what I mean with consistency is that, now, by the way, based on the report, almost half of the newsletters are inactive. Maybe I should
Wow,
say
half.
that. Yeah, it means that, of course, I made my own definition of inactive.
Mm,
I just checked their latest, the dates of latest posts, and if a newsletter didn't publish a new post within the last 2 months, I labeled it as inactive.
mm,
So this, this results might change depending on how you define inactive newsletters.
mm,
But yeah, what I mean with consistency is yes, there is this side of consistent publishing. You need to create content and publish on a consistent base, but you should be also consistent with promoting your work on relevant channels that you
mm,
can find your target audience. And also, you should be consistent in experimenting different things. So, there are lots of stuff going on when I say consistency. I think this is the most important thing. And people should start maybe more achievable objectives, what I
mm,
could recommend. If they're not sure about the time or energy that they can allocate to their newsletters, they shouldn't put an objective to publish, I don't know, every day or 3 times a week. They should
mm,
start slow, and then when they see that they can do it, and they can manage it, and then they can always increase the frequency or publish longer articles, etc.
mm,
Because when you see that you set an objective and you achieve it, first, it increases your self-confidence,
mm,
so that you find this motivation to keep going. And also, in the eyes of readers, it's always better not to raise expectations really high from the beginning, so that you will not disappoint them.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's putting some achievable objectives, deciding on a publishing frequency and sticking to it is really key when you start. Of course, there are lots of things to that we can talk about how to make a newsletter work, but at least in the very beginning, this is one of the most important things.
Mm,
Since you asked these questions linking to the report, I wanted to answer like this, but
mm,
one of the other things that I find super important is to be clear about your objective with your newsletter.
mm,
What is its role in your life? Why did you start a newsletter? Because there might be so many different reasons to start a newsletter. It might be a personal project just to organize your thoughts, or it might be, I don't know, a discovery channel for your business to find
mm,
new clients, etc. Or you might want to build a standalone newsletter business.
mm,
by utilizing different monetization methods. So there are so many reasons. I think the first thing they should do is to be clear about the objective, and then they should be clear about who are they writing for.
Mm,
All newsletter creators should ask these questions to themselves from time to time. Who am I writing for? And what
mm,
are their needs or pain points that I'm trying to address with my content?
mm,
These two questions are really important. I also struggle, from time to time, I also struggle with newsletter circle, and I revisit my positioning. In the beginning, I was writing for a newsletter for newsletter creators, for example. It was too broad. And then I niched down for newsletter creators building newsletter business. Again, so broad because there are different ways to build a business with a newsletter. And
mm,
now I'm focusing on creators building a newsletter business through paid subscription. So it's not easy to find all the answers in the beginning. It requires experimentation and patience along the way. This is for sure. But I think we should all keep these big questions in our mind.
mm. Great answer, brilliant. Um, what was I going to say? Do you feel like when people niche down further, their growth increases, or their pay growth increases? If people have a narrower field of vision when they're looking at their newsletter, does that make it more likely that someone will upgrade to their paid tier than if they just
Mhm,
go broad? What do you think?
mhm. Yeah, I think there are two things here. Yes, if you niche down and focus on a specific, group of audience, it definitely helps because you are different. You are providing something. You are focusing on a area that few people are focusing.
Mm,
This might definitely help, but it's also possible to write about a broad topic, but providing some niche type of content.
mm,
You can be different with the format of your content, or I don't know, some other benefits like if you can write about marketing, for example, a wide topic, but if you research some things, if you research some data and insights that is hard to find anywhere else, still you can be really successful
yeah.
with growing a paid newsletter, or you can build a community. So there are different ways to niche down, either through your voice, tone of voice, through your content format, or your topic.
Okay. How important do you think the role of the actual creator is in the newsletter itself? So, um, for instance, are people drawn just purely to results to find out a solution to their problems, or are they drawn to the creator who's providing those results? Do you think? Because I'm very much in the mindset of people subscribe a lot of the time to newsletters and stay subscribed because of the person who's doing the writing, because of the person who created it. I think the solutions to their problems are a thing that draws them in a lot of the time, but I think that the actual creator is why they stay subscribed, maybe longer term. What do you think about that? What's your opinion?
Hmm. A
If if
good
you, if you disagree, just tell me. It's okay.
It's a good question, but I think there is not one answer to this. It depends on your topic and what you promise with your newsletter.
Mm,
Right? For example, if you claim to create a community, like an online community or something, and if you say that, okay, I will do one-on-one sessions, I will show you how to do things with all these community features, etc. Maybe the creator's role is bigger in that case.
mm,
But if as long as you provide really valuable content,
mm,
addressing a need or pain points, it might not be really it might not be really that important,
mm,
in my opinion, because if people really love what you write about, if they find it helpful, then it shapes your identity as a creator.
mm.
So it's really linked to what you offer and create.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Mm,
hope
good.
it answers.
It does very much. In terms of pay tiers, obviously you study this extensively, and this is kind of one of your main areas of focus. What offerings and benefits and paid tiers do you think are most effective in terms
Mhm.
of helping people upgrade from free to paid? Like, what are the kind of things that people will see in your offering and think, I definitely have to upgrade to get that thing, versus what things do you think that people do too often in what do they offer too often in their paid tiers that aren't actually increasing upgrades from free to paid?
Mhm. Yeah, I think offering something unique again is really important. Again, it depends on the topic of your newsletter. For example, if you run a finance newsletter and if you publish really, good analysis and in-depth reports, yeah, it can work in that niche.
Mm,
But if you write a newsletter, about teaching something, you can create shorter and more actionable content, so it depends on where you are operating it, but what I see is that yeah, they are definitely providing something unique,
mm,
the successful paid newsletters, and also these community features work
mm,
a lot, like Ask Me Anything sessions, live sessions.
mm,
And these community benefits might work in a way to create a space for subscribers to meet each other,
mm,
create a space where you give chance subscribers to reach you and ask questions or contact you.
mm.
But I see that all these live sessions, community features also work great.
Okay. Do you think it's a good idea to, if you have a community, online community space, is it a good idea to have that running alongside Substack? So say someone joins your paid tier, then they get access to say like a circle group or another kind of group. Is it a good idea to have that separate external space, or is it better to keep everything within Substack, do you think?
Mhm. I think if you run a small newsletter and if you like to test the idea, it's a good idea to experiment this community idea with chat and start there.
Mm,
But once you want to improve it and once you want to create a really full-fledged community, I don't think that Substack chat would be enough to
mm,
manage it because it's not possible to create all these channels. It's not, Circle offers so many features to run a community. So I think after some point, it is not enough.
mm,
Um, because in chat, what I see about running communities, it's mainly, the creators are asking a question and they have some templates like, I know which creator will ask which question on which day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I'm not remembering it, but when I checked previous messages that they
Oh,
sent,
okay.
yeah, they have some standard questions they ask every week, so that
Mm.
they can manage they can keep the
The
chat
conversation going.
active.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like more one-way communication. I
Mm,
don't see subscribers get in touch with each other a lot.
mm,
Um, and also it's not easy to, gather people around specific topics since it's not possible to create channels,
mm.
etc.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a primitive version of running a community. It's good to test some ideas, but if you are really passionate about building a community and make it paid,
Mm,
then at some point you need to find another channel. For example, Lenny, from Lenny's newsletter, I think he has a community on Slack.
yeah.
Or for example, 30 ship 30, they also
You think that's cool? Yeah.
yeah, they're also running a community on Circle.
Mm,
So yeah, if you like to come to this scale, and then yeah, you need to invest in community with your time, money, channel, and everything.
yeah. Let's talk about money briefly. So, in terms of paid newsletters, is there a general, and again, I know this is in your report. I've read your report and just can't remember everything that's in it right now off the top of my head. But in terms of what most paid newsletters will charge as their monthly fee or annual
Mhm.
fee, is there kind of a sweet spot, do you think, in terms of price? Is there a point where price goes too far, or when it's just far too low to support the creator? What is like the sweet spot, do you think, for pricing?
Mhm. Yeah, what I see in the report is that the average monthly subscription price is $10.
Okay.
I think this can be a nice reference point to
Mm,
start pricing your paid offer. This is something a bit personal, based on my observation and feeling. If you provide something really valuable, I think you shouldn't be afraid of charging higher prices.
mm,
Because once you charge really low just to increase the number of your paid subscribers, they are also easily leaving and unsubscribing because
mm,
they don't invest. People stick to the things and people commit into the things they invested,
yeah.
right? So I think the question here is that how can I create something really valuable to convince people to pay?
Mm,
What is this unique content or benefit that I can offer? And
mm,
then if you find this sweet spot, you can charge higher than $10 as well.
mm.
This is how I approach things. So focus on creating something really killer and valuable and then charge higher prices.
Okay, good idea. Um, how do you encourage people to join your annual tier versus your monthly tier? Because I know a lot of creators try to push people towards being annual subscribers because it's more of an income immediately.
To be honest, I activated my paid subscription a couple of months ago, but I didn't put so much effort into increasing the number of paid subscribers
Mm,
on my end. I mainly focused on, you know, finding the really valuable content that I can offer. So I didn't really focus on encouraging people to,
upgrade.
being a upgrade and being an
Mm,
annual paid member. But from the interviews that I done, I know that they offer some really good discounts,
mm,
showing that not subscribing annually is meaningless. So they're offering such really strong discounts on annual subscription, so
mm,
that people make this obvious decision. Yeah, this might be a way to encourage people to become an annual paid member.
mm,
But also, I think when it comes to paid subscription, what is really important to find your most engaged readers,
mm.
and then make some one-on-one reach outs to
Okay.
them.
Mm,
Um, so I think the ones who will be more eager to become an annual subscriber would be the most engaged ones.
mm,
So I think not the discounts, but the more important thing is to reach out these super fans,
mm,
and you should talk to them, understand what they need, what might encourage them. Of course, I think it's a good idea to run some special discounts for this group, maybe
mm,
to increase the number of annual subscribers, etc. But yeah, I mean, I think finding the right people to upgrade is more important than how much to charge, and also
yeah.
creating the highest value content.
Mm,
These two stays at the core, in my opinion.
yeah. Good answer again. How do you, we're almost finished, so we're just coming towards the end of this conversation now, but I want to ask you a couple more questions. How do you work out exactly what your subscribers want from you as a publication editor? So how do you zero in on their pain points and the kind of things they need help with the most? What kind of things have you used or you've seen other people do in their publications?
Yeah, this is a constant challenge, I think, for many creators, right? We
Hmm.
always say that you should know your audience, you should understand their pain points, needs, etc. But then how? Obviously, again, staying in touch with your most engaged, subscribers is really important. Back then, for example, I reach out, I think my super fans, 100 super fans, and then booked calls, one-on-one calls with 50 of them.
Mm,
And yeah, during these calls, I ask them what they like about Newsletter Circle, what they don't like, or their biggest struggles about building a newsletter, etc. So try to I'm again huge supporter of doing things that don't scale.
Mm,
Um, at least, until you reach at some point, at some level.
mm,
So I think people should invest time to talk to their readers, the most engaged ones, and find ways to reach out to them, and
mm,
then book some calls, or I don't know, one-on-one emails, like personalized reach outs.
mm,
They should do this. This is the most important thing. And then, of course, after a while, you learn, you learn to read the reactions. It's not like it's not about the number of likes or something, but when you write something really helpful, people react in a way. They repost, they comment,
mm,
or sometimes they reply to the newsletter issue. Also, you can observe the performance of your notes, for example, or social media posts. It's so obvious, which posts are getting more reactions and which posts people found more helpful. So you should be you should be open, and you should read the signs.
yeah.
But also, yeah, it's really important to making all these one-on-one reach outs, in my opinion, especially in the beginning.
Mm. Is that via email or via direct message, would you say?
Um, you should reach out every possible channels, because it's not easy to get reaction to this kind of reach outs. You
Mm,
should try Substack DM. You should find their LinkedIn, Twitter accounts. You should email them.
mm,
So you should try different channels, because when I only reach out through email, the response rate is not really high. But
mm,
sometimes, yeah, I manage to reach someone on LinkedIn, someone responds on Substack DM. So this is a lot of work. I know that it's really effort, but then it is the way to build a strong foundation of your publication,
mm.
to understand what works, what resonates, and what not.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I do try to follow up with my paid subscribers whenever they join my publication. I'll send them a message and thank them and give them a bit of advice on
Mhm.
what to do next. But I love the idea of just reaching out to people who are most engaged, just using Substack's filters, I assume, to sort of find them and work out what their like opening pattern is in terms of emails and that sort of thing and how engaged they are. And then just connecting with them in that way. I think it's so clever. And as you say, I think that phrase that you used, doing things that can't scale or focus on things that can't scale is so important because yeah, I think that's what's really
Yeah.
key in setting apart your publication, isn't it?
Yeah. I will write an article about how you can find your most engaged
Do
readers.
I'll read that straight away.
Yeah. Satan, because again, I'm in the process of gathering a CRM of these most engaged subscribers currently.
Mm,
I'm finding their social media accounts. I'm, in a Google Sheet. I exported these most engaged subscribers, and then I'm researching whether they have a newsletter or not. If they have a newsletter, whether it's free or paid, how many subscribers they have, social media channels where they're active.
mm,
So I'm gathering all this information, and then yeah, I will start reaching out, and this will help me a lot to craft the highest value paid benefits
mm,
along the way and make relevant iterations. So I will also share what I've been experimenting and what I've been doing
mm.
along the way. Yeah, and I will share it in a separate post.
Sounds good. I can tell you love this, Siler, because just the way your eyes were as you were talking about that, you were so like bright and alive as you were telling me about this. So yeah, I can tell you're passionate about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I'm really passionate. Yeah, because it's been 2.5 years, but what I write, it has been. And yeah, I tried and experimented with so many different things, but I feel like it's just starting.
Mm, yeah.
Because this paid subscription phase is something I'm really excited about, and also writing my own articles and sharing more insights that I gathered throughout this process is also so exciting. So
Mm.
yeah, we'll see what will happen.
Cool, cool. Just as we finish, Salar, so the thing I like to get people to do is leave our listeners and readers with a bit of an insight into something. So, if people want to make a living from their writing, what is like one golden nugget of advice you would leave them with today from this conversation?
Hmm. Oh, again, really good question and a
Difficult
tough.
answer, I know.
Yeah, difficult. I think, if I had a chance to start over, I would be more intentional about how I could monetize my newsletter. I didn't think about it,
Mm,
really well. I didn't, yeah. I just, okay, we always hear that, okay, just start and you will discover what works, what not along the way, etc. Of course, it's really important to start. If you don't write, you can't build a newsletter, and there is no meaning to wait to start.
mm,
But also, you should have an idea about this goal or monetization methods that you'd like to achieve.
mm,
And then, whatever you do should serve to this objective.
yeah,
It might not work in the end, for sure, but at least, you can know what you are trying to reach. So I think in the beginning, if you really would like to make a living out of your writing, you should approach this as a business, not
mm,
a creator outlet. This is a business, and you need to promote it. You need to do proper marketing. You need
mm,
to have a marketing strategy, and you need to invest in it. You can invest in paid marketing, you can spend money for ads, you can hire someone to speed up the process, etc. So if you think about it as a startup, a business, then I think this is a this mindset shift really changed a lot.
mm,
And then if you have a full-time job and then create a business, create a living with your writing, of course, it will be a better idea to start as a side hustle
mm,
to just to until you find this niche that you operate, to clarify your content, the value, etc. But
mm,
then you need to focus.
yeah.
You need to focus fully and, yeah, invest in with your time and energy as well, not with your money. And for that, save some money.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar to many other businesses, if you don't find an investment in the beginning, then you can be your angel investor, save some money, make your plan, set a deadline, set an objective. For example, you can say that, okay, I have 6 months to try this. My objective is that.
Mm,
And then if I see this result, if I reach this milestone, I will continue. This
yeah.
kind of a mindset is helping a lot. This is what I'm doing for the moment currently. I'm not earning money to make a living with my newsletter yet,
Mhm,
but now I'm not calling myself a creator, but a business founder. Of
mm,
course, creating content is a big part of the job, but I'm more seeing myself as a business founder, and I make plans accordingly, and this is how I approach things. I also have someone that I work with. Ayça is also supporting Newsletter Circle. So yeah, I think this is the most important thing. You should accept that this is business.
That's a brilliant final line, except this is business. I love that. Brilliant. But Ciler, thank you so much for this conversation. So good to chat to you today. I think so much of what you said is so actionable for people who are listening, especially people who want to have a paid tier or develop their paid tier further. And I encourage anybody who's listening to definitely go and check out, use their circle, and I'll link to everything below in this post afterwards once it's published. But yeah, Ciler, thanks so much, and I look forward to connecting with you again on Substack really soon. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. It was really fun to chat with you and stay in touch.
Will do. Thanks very much.